This lesson is the surrender at Appomattox for absent students. So that you can complete this assignment, it is very important. So far, the Civil War has gone through the Battle of Vicksburg. We've gone through the Battle of Gettysburg. The Union's doing very well, and the South realizes that things are just getting worse and they probably don't have a chance to win the war. So let's get started. Turn to where you see the end of the Civil War. We're going to analyze this picture that's right here. So right now, where it says objects, I want you to write down the first 3 things that pop out to you about this picture. Go ahead and press pause and do that. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to describe the people in this image. So take a look, pick some people and say, okay, the man on the horse is, or the lady is. Describe, pick 2 to 3 people and tell me what they're doing. Do that now. You're going to need to pause. The title's already written in for you. Sherman's March to the Sea, 1864. So I'm going to kind of analyze this with you here for a second. So if you see these guys, think about what you think this is. What is this? This is a telegraph. These are telegraph wires, how people communicate, the fastest way to communicate. And these guys are obviously not repairing it. They're doing what? Yes, they're tearing it down. What does it look like they're doing to these railroad tracks? They're tearing it apart. What's happening right here to this building? It's on fire. And if you look here, those weapons, are they in the hands of anybody? No, they are literally laying down. This flag right here is not a Confederate flag, it's a Union flag. You have some people right here that look like they're going somewhere, they're escaping. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about, where are they? And then we know that this is a Union flag. So these are Union soldiers. They're not in a battle because they've laid their weapons down. I want you to make an inference. So because I see blank, I can infer. It's an educated guess. I can guess at what is happening. So because I see blank going on, I can guess that this is happening. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is come up with a conclusion. The most important part of this image is blank because it sends a message that blank is happening. So this is all on purpose in this picture. They are destroying the South. Union soldiers are destroying their transportation, which is right here. They're destroying their communication because that makes life very difficult. If you can't transport goods, if you can't transport people, if you can't communicate quickly, that's going to affect the lives of people and the military. So things are just totally getting destroyed to make life very difficult. It's kind of like if you're in a boxing match and one of the boxers knows he's going to win, and it's kind of like finishing him off. Let me give that one last punch to end this all. So this is done on purpose. These Union soldiers are destroying things on purpose. So go down to the bottom, think about what your conclusion is going to be, pause the video, and can complete that. Okay, next part. Grant wages total war. So this is going to really explain the picture. So it says, as you read, underline all the actions taken by the North to wage war on the South. So you are going to underline things the North did to the South. So as you're reading, if you think, for example, they put a city ablaze, like caught it on fire. That's something the North or the South, so I'm going to underline it. You're going to read through this, and I want you to underline all the bad things that are happening to the South that the North is doing. So pause the video and go ahead and complete that. Your reading must be underlined. Okay, so now we're going to answer number 1. What were some of the reasons why Lee would surrender? Well, the reasons are the things that you underlined. So you can make a bulleted list of the reasons that Lee would surrender. I mean, because look at what is happening here in the North. I mean, horrible things. Things are on fire. They're killing all of their horses and hogs. The things that they can't steal, or take with them, they're destroying everything of value. Life is hard for people and the military in the South. It is that last thing. They're even robbing things, and they're doing this all on purpose. So just make a list of all the things that we've underlined so that you have a good idea of why Lee would just be like, this is icing on the cake. I've got to surrender. And then look at number 2. Typo. I'm sorry, let me pause. Go ahead and complete number 1. Okay, so look at number 2. There's a typo. That should say Lee. Why or was General Lee happy about surrendering? Explain. So that's going to be found right down here. Tell me if he's happy, yes or no, and then why isn't he happy? What does he say that makes you know he isn't happy about what he's fixing to have to do? So go ahead and pause and complete that. Okay, so we know he'd rather die than have to surrender, and it's really hard. This has been a long war, and he is not winning. Okay, so look right here, turn to the back where it says terms of surrender. Here are the 3 issues. So you're going to pretend to that you are going to advise General Grant on how Lee and the Confederate Army should be treated. Place a check mark next to the choice. Can you turn the lights on? So here's the first thing. What would you, just pretend, what would you tell Grant he should do? How should soldiers in Lee's army be treated? Allow them to leave peacefully if they agree to surrender their weapons and promise to be loyal to the Union. Require them to pay a large fine to help pay off the cost of war. Place them in prisons. They are traitors. Please put a check mark by which one you think how Grant should handle this. The next one, issue 2. What should be done to General Lee? Allow him to return home and begin a new life. Require him to help rebuild the South destroyed by war. Arrest him and place him on trial. And if convicted, have him hanged. How should we treat General Lee after this war? Okay, next one, issue 3. What type of aid should be provided to Lee's army? So, should the North provide food, clothing, and medical care? Provide only food, ignore all requests for aid because the South is, requesting aid. So check which one we should do, or Grant should do. Okay, so let's find out what happened in real life here. So you're going to turn over to the back. Here is the surrender letter, your primary source. So I want you to, you're going to read this short letter. This is what General Grant tells Lee, this is what's going to happen. So when you come surrender, this is the terms of surrender. So we need to answer those 3 questions. So think, how is the army going to be treated? How's Lee going to be treated? And then what support is going to happen for the army? So you're going to read through this and try and, after you read, answer those 3 issues. So there's issue number 1, 2, and 3. Find them out in this reading. So go ahead and pause and find out. Okay, so now you are going to go back here and you're going to tell me what really happened based on the terms of surrender. So issue 1, for example, how should soldiers in Lee's army be treated? If we look in the back, it says that they have to guarantee to not take up arms against the government of the United States. So that's give a promise to not try and fight the Union again. And then they are, it says they get to return to their home. not to be disturbed by the U.S. So they're going to turn in, they have to promise to be loyal or not fight against the Union, and they just get to go home. And they will not be disturbed. So it's not like you just get to go home and you're going to knock on your door that, oh my gosh, you were a Confederate soldier, you're a traitor, we're taking you to jail. No, we promise that we're not going to disturb you once you're there. So you go to issue 1, and they have to issue 1. How should soldiers in Lee's army be treated? Promise to not fight Union. That's one part, and they get to go home. It's that simple. And so as you answer issue 2, you're going to find that it's very similar. So an officer is going to be like General Lee. So answer issue 2, it's quite similar. And then issue 3, what type of aid should be provided to Lee's army? So go ahead and pause and make sure you know that you have an answer for issue 2 and 3. Okay, so now we know what actually happened in the terms of surrender. Now we are going to put together what we've learned. So you're going to imagine that you're a Confederate and a Union soldier. You have just heard about Lee's surrender at Appomattox Courthouse. How do you feel? Do you think the terms of surrender were fair? Write a letter home to a loved one explaining how the end of the Civil War might change your life. So, some people thought, well, wow, like General Grant, and this comes a lot from Lincoln, the Union's being like really nice about this. Like soldiers just get to go home. Everyone gets to go home almost like this didn't happen. Because think, Lincoln wants to just put the family peacefully back together. And you can't do that if you're going to start putting all these people on trial. It's just, okay, we had a bad fight. Now let's try and get things back to normal. But not everybody agrees with these terms of surrender. Some people think it's too easy. Some people think it's just right. So you're going to kind of imagine that you have to have both perspectives. So, for example, dear Mom, or Papa, or whoever, I just heard about Lee's surrender at Appomattox. As a Confederate soldier, I feel because I think the terms of surrender were blank because now that the war is over, I'm going to, what might a Confederate do now that the war is over? And then love, Bob. And then you'll do the same thing. Dear Nana, I just heard about Lee's surrender at Appomattox. As a Union soldier, I feel blank because I think the terms of surrender were blank because now that the war is over, I'm going to love, Bob again. Here is a word bank to help you. So Union, Confederate, relieved, happy, sad, disappointed, fair, unfair, peace, fighting, North, South, Lincoln, Robert E. Lee, Ulysses S. Grant, slavery, states' rights. You want to use some of this. You can say, I think the surrender was unfair because Robert E. Lee this. Try and use some of this word bank because that means it shows that you're educated in what happened. And use your notes. So if you're like, okay, well, what are the terms of surrender again? Let me look. Here they are. Okay. And then add that into your letter. But you have to have the perspective of both sides. So that's going to be your last part for the Appomattox. We did watch a video clip of this happening. So you're going to have to see me to watch the movie clip. Because I can't put it on Google Classroom because it's part of like a movie that I have. And it acts out the surrender of Appomattox because this is very important. This is monumental. This is the end of the Civil War. This is a big deal. Make sure it looks like a big deal in your letters. When you have completed this assignment because you were absent, make sure you turn it in so that it completes your zeros, fills those zeros in. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Can pause and finish or in the video and finish your letters.